In December of 2015, the globe saw its first power outage that was believed to have been caused by a cyber attack. The disruption lasted for 6 hours and left hundreds of thousands of homes without energy. The Bowman Avenue Dam in New York City was successfully breached by hackers in 2013, allowing them to take control of the dam's floodgates. This is a terrifying prospect. These cyber attacks are occurring at an increasing pace, and all projections point to this becoming a significant concern that will damage industry, energy, transportation, public services, and telecommunication. A story of politics, espionage, technology, and war. This is Stuxnet, the story of the world's first cyber weapon. The Iranian nuclear program is a long and complex political story, with roots back to the 1950s, where the program was launched with United States assistance under the Atoms for Peace program, all the way through to the 2000s, where Iran's uranium enrichment program raised concerns that nuclear power may not be used for peaceful purposes, and when Iran was deemed as being non-compliant with the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Iran also has a long history of poor diplomatic relations with Israel, with both engaging in proxy conflicts that have shaped the geopolitics of the Middle East. Thought to start in 2005, secret efforts to create a new malware, dubbed Operation Olympic Games, began under President George W. Bush and have continued under former President Obama. The Bush and Obama administrations worried that Israel might conduct airstrikes against Iran's nuclear facilities if it seemed that Tehran was close to producing nuclear weapons, which may have sparked a wider regional conflict. Operation Olympic Games was considered a peaceful option. Late in Bush's administration, there was a dramatic meeting in the White House Situation Room, during which fragments of a wrecked test centrifuge were put out on a conference table, despite the fact that it was unclear whether or not such a cyber attack on physical infrastructure was even conceivable. The United States then authorized permission to release the weapon. Neither country has ever publicly admitted to inventing or developing Stuxnet. The Israeli Defense Forces then commander Gabi Ashkenazi touted the malware in a retirement video made in 2011. The specific engineers responsible for Stuxnet remain unknown. Roel Schuenberg of Kaspersky Labs speculated that it took a team of 10 programmers 2 to 3 years to develop the worm into its final form. So we somewhat understand Stuxnet's origin, but how did it go about completing its goal, and how could a cyber attack present a threat to the physical world? From the start, Stuxnet's purpose was to wipe out the centrifuges Iran was employing to enrich uranium for its nuclear program. The naturally occurring form of uranium, U-238, is too heavy to be utilized in nuclear reactors or weapons, thus the lighter isotope, U-235, must be synthesized. To separate the various isotopes of uranium by weight, a centrifuge is utilized to spin the uranium at high enough velocities. Due to their fragility, these centrifuges are frequently broken during routine use. At the time of infection, Stuxnet looks for a connection to certain Siemens programmable logic controller types. The worm does nothing if it doesn't find any PLCs. If it does, Stuxnet tampers with the code, causing the centrifuges to spin erratically and perhaps destroying them. During this time, the PLCs are falsely reporting to the controller computer that everything is running smoothly, delaying the time it takes to discover and fix the problem. Stuxnet targets not only the Windows operating system, but also the Siemens software that runs on Windows and controls the PLCs, as well as the embedded software on the controllers themselves. As the Natanz facility where the uranium enrichment was taking place was known to be air-gapped, with its systems not connected to the internet. The malware was built to be delivered via a removable drive like a USB stick, while also spreading rapidly and indiscriminately from machine to machine on an internal network. Both user and kernel mode rootkit functionality are included in Stuxnet. It employs digitally signed device drivers certified with private key certificates obtained from 2 prominent Taiwanese device manufacturers to install the rootkit. Once Stuxnet took over the controllers, it manipulated the centrifuge's rotation speeds while they were running, rendering them quickly useless due to damage. Stuxnet employed a combination of a 0-day vulnerability in Siemens PLCs, an existing weakness exposed in the Conflicker assault, and a Windows shortcut fault to infect the Windows PCs in the Natanz plant. An unusually large number of vulnerabilities were exploited in a single assault. This is because hackers often avoid disclosing 0 days because they are swiftly fixed after an attack. Researchers in cybersecurity still do not have access to the Stuxnet codebase, but they've learned a lot from analyzing the malware's structure and behavior. They've concluded that C and other object-oriented languages were used. This is also quite rare for malware and hints at the skill of the programmers behind it. One analyst assessed that the delay in the Iranian nuclear program was at least 2 years due to the Stuxnet virus. Inspectors from the International Atomic Energy Agency were the first outsiders to detect the impacts of the worm when they were granted access to the Natanz site. The International Atomic Energy Agency was tasked with checking on broken centrifuges being taken out of the site to ensure they weren't being used to secretly ship uranium to another plant. The centrifuges used in the uranium enrichment process are susceptible to damage. You may anticipate around 800 centrifuges to be put out of action each year. However, in 2010, the IAEA began to notice an unusually high number of damaged centrifuges, with one investigator claiming that about 2,000 had been rendered unusable. Of course, at the time, no one suspected that malicious software was to blame. Unexpectedly, Stuxnet managed to spread outside the Natanz plant, which led to its eventual discovery. It was previously mentioned that Natanz was air-gapped, therefore it is unclear how Stuxnet managed to escape. Many Americans blamed Israeli code changes for the virus's rapid spread, and current President Joe Biden was reportedly especially incensed by this. It might have gotten out due to lax security measures taken by Iranians at Natanz, such as an employee bringing a work laptop home and using it to access the internet there. As a result of the malware's sophistication and aggressiveness, it quickly began to infect additional machines. In the wake of a tech support request, the security community soon learned about Stuxnet. Despite having a brand new operating system installed, computers at an Iranian office, unrelated to the nuclear program I must add, were crashing and requiring a reboot. Unable to determine the root reason, the on-site security expert reached out to a mutual acquaintance, a Belarusian working for antivirus software company Virus Blokada by the name of Sergei Ulasin. Ulasin spent the night at the wedding reception on the phone with his Iranian buddy, trying to figure out what was going on. After isolating the virus, Ulasin and his team saw just how many 0 days it was exploiting and knew they were in for a tough fight. They started disseminating their findings to the rest of the security industry. Stuxnet was by far the most sophisticated piece of code that we've looked at, in a whole different league from anything we'd ever seen before, according to Liam Omerchu, head of Symantec's Security Technology and Response Group and member of the team that initially deciphered Stuxnet. Omerchu told CSO that the original source code for the worm, written by coders working for US and Israeli intelligence, has not been released or leaked and cannot be extracted from the binaries that are loose in the wild, despite the fact that many websites claim to have the Stuxnet code available for download. But he said that watching the binary in action and doing some reverse engineering will teach you a lot about the programming. That it was pretty obvious from the first time we analyzed this app that it was looking for some Siemens equipment. Eventually, after 3 to 6 months of reverse engineering, we were able to determine, I would say, 99% of everything that happens in the code, Omerchu said. Although Stuxnet still exists, it no longer poses a significant cyber threat. While Stuxnet's spectacular capabilities and mysterious origins made headlines, the truth is that it never posed much of a threat to anybody outside of the Natanz site. Nevertheless, you definitely don't want your systems infected with potent malware produced by state-funded organizations. Thankfully, patches have been released for the underlying flaws in code that Stuxnet exploited in the first place. Keeping your operating system and security software up to date are two of the most fundamental forms of good cyber hygiene, and if you follow these guidelines, you shouldn't have too many security-related concerns. If there is any danger from Stuxnet, it comes from the programs that are directly descended from it. As we've seen, Stuxnet's influence may be seen in other malware families, which may have been developed by the same intelligence agency or may be the work of independent hackers who have cracked its code. Researchers in the field of cybersecurity are currently expanding on the work done on Stuxnet in order to uncover novel forms of cyber attack. Looking beyond the specific technology involved, Stuxnet is noteworthy because it was the first widely acknowledged entrance of computer code into the arena of international conflict, a concept that had previously only existed in cyber and science fiction. In the decade following, and especially in the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, cyber attacks have been normalized as a legitimate military tactic. When it comes to digital spaces, you can drop a logic bomb, and you can pretty easily make it look like someone else or deny involvement, and there's not much anybody can do. So it's creating this really unique battlefield we've never seen before. Countries can act in relative obscurity. There are an unlimited number of conceivable outcomes that may result from cyber warfare, including a power outage that could last for days or weeks, the release of water that has been held back by dams, the contamination of our water supply, and even the possibility of a nuclear winter. An accidental nuclear war, according to former United States Secretary of Defense William Perry, is much more likely than Russia launching a first strike on the United States. This accident, which Perry believes could be caused by a virus like Stuxnet. When we think back on what happened, it's only natural for us to view Stuxnet as a tale of a virus that partially completed its goals and what it was set out to do. However, the true story resides in what happens after Stuxnet, the next chapter in the evolution of cyber warfare.